Hello and welcome to UK Fitness Hub. My name is Travis Tarrant and today we're going to be covering the best and top 10 stretches that you can do to start to relieve your tight, sore or stiff back. Let's get into it. So there's many reasons why somebody might have a tight lower back, and we're not going to get too much into all the reasons. However, to name a few, we've got obesity, poor posture, staying seated for too long, maybe somebody that's pregnant or somebody just in general that has done physical activity, manual labour, and they've just got a tight or sore back in general. Now, what we're going to cover in this video is not only how to stretch the lower back, and when people think of lower back, they're thinking right there. We're also going to cover other muscles that maybe you've never even heard of that attach to the lower back, and also muscles in the hips, and we're going to go through the leg and the hamstring. So sometimes you've got tightness in your lower back as a referred problem from somewhere else. So I'm going to cover not only that lower back region, I'm going to cover all the others. So enough talking, let's get into those stretches.
For our first stretch, we're going to bring our back into forward flexion. To start, be seated on the floor with the soles of your feet in contact with each other. Then slowly begin to curl your back forwards. As you do this, bring your hands out in front of your body in contact with the floor. Slowly try to bring them further away from your body as you relax into the stretch. Keep this stretch for 30 seconds and you can do it up to 3 times. This next stretch is great for if you find your back getting stiff at work. Take the same principles as the first stretch, however, this time seated in a chair. Start with your feet hip width apart and then begin to curl your body forward and try to touch the ground with your hand. This might be enough of a stretch for some of you, but if you want to increase the stretch, you can slowly walk your hand closer towards your body. Hold this stretch for 30 seconds, up to 3 times over. Next up is a glute stretch. Begin on your back with your knees bent and place one foot over the opposite knee. Grab behind your hamstring and slowly pull towards your body. It's not uncommon to not only feel this in your glutes, but also your lower back as well. And you'll hold this stretch for a total of 30 seconds, 3 times over, like the previous. This next piriformis stretch at first glance might look awfully like the glute stretch you just did. However, there is a slight variation. In the same position as your previous stretch, use your opposite hand to pull your knee diagonally. You should be feeling a different type of stretch from the previous one. Your piriformis attaches to your lumbar spine and helps with outwardly rotating the hip. Sitting for long periods can cause this muscle to tighten, and in some people it even causes sciatica-like symptoms known as piriformis syndrome. Stretch number 5 is a QL stretch. QL stands for quadratus lumborum. To start, be seated with a wide foot stance and raise one arm up in the air. Place your opposite hand on the outside of the opposing knee, then side bend towards the furthest foot away from you. Hold this stretch for 30 seconds and then repeat on each side 3 times over. If you're wondering what the QL even does, it helps to stabilize the lumbar spine and helps to flex the trunk. It actually attaches onto the lumbar vertebrae. Next is a child's pose stretch. Start on your knees and place your hands on the floor underneath your shoulders. This position should replicate one of a tabletop. Then start to walk your hands away from your body and drop your hips back. Where you feel this stretch can vary significantly from person to person, so depending on the tightness of areas in your body, you may feel this in the lower back, your shoulders, your lats, or even your biceps. Stretch number 7 is a yoga stretch called the cat and cow stretch. Get into a tabletop position with your hands and knees hip width apart. Arch your back by pulling your belly button towards your spine. This is the cat part of the stretch. Then the next part is to raise your head up, letting your pelvis fall forward and curving your back towards the floor. Repeat both parts of these for 15 seconds each. Doing this 3 times over is what I would personally constitute as one set. The next 2 stretches are for your hip flexors. Begin in a kneeling position to start and then put one leg out in front of your body with your knee bent at 90 degrees. Whilst maintaining an upright torso, squeeze and contract your glute and core muscles. This helps to stabilize the hips And then once you've done this, you can move forward through the knee in front of your body. If you'd like to add a little bit more to this stretch, you can raise the opposite hand to the leg that's outstretched up in the air and then start to side bend. This will increase the range of motion and start to stretch out the hip flexors even more. Remember, whatever one you're doing, hold it for 45 seconds. If you want something really abrasive to try for the hip flexors, you can try this modification on a chair. Take all the same principles as your previous stretch. However, this time your laces are on the chair, and the further you bring your knee towards the chair, the harsher the stretch. Now, you'd be excused for asking, what does all this have to do with my lower back? Well, one of the hip flexor muscles, the psoas, is attached to your lumbar vertebrae, the 5 bones that form the spine in your lower back. So you can see why tightness or weakness in this muscle could affect your lower back. If you're having lower back pain and you think it might be as a result of tight or weak hip flexors, stretching these hip flexor muscles out can help prevent and treat some of the causes of lower back pain. Finally, for our last stretch, we're going to target the hamstring muscles. Start on your back, on the floor, close to a wall, and then bring your heels up onto the wall. Make sure that when you do this, you do it slowly, and when you're in this position, make sure that your knees are completely flat and straight. You're not bending at all. Your lower back should be in contact with the floor at all times. And if it isn't, that's a sign that you've gone a little bit too far into the stretch, and ease out of it slightly. Hold this for a duration of 30 to 45 seconds and repeat for up to 3 sets.
So that concludes the end of today's video. Thank you very much for sticking around and making it to the end of the video. Now, if you've learned something new or I've helped you in any kind of way, a like on the video and subscribing to my channel would be fantastic. Helping my channel to grow helps other people like yourself with free content. You've been watching UK Fitness Hub. My name's Travis Tarrant, and I'll see you soon.